Aloha, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is Spencer Haskins, and I'm coming through here with some pretty epic blue water footage. This was all taking place here in my home waters of the Puna district here on beautiful Hawaii Island. Welcome. I know it's been a really long time since I've posted stuff. I've just been real busy with work, and I'm a dad now with two beautiful daughters and my wife, and stuff gets a little bit spread out, and luckily I was able to go and get some of this footage. As you can see, it was really going off. This was the first fish of the day. Pulling it up nice and slow. You know, when you're diving alone, your biggest thing that you need to be aware of is the situation that you've put yourself into. And what I'm talking about really is potential hazards, like getting caught in your tang line here. You know, that's a 90-foot hybrid bungee line that Matt over at Dark Waters sent to me. It works really well. As you can see here, most of these fish, they get gassed out pretty quick. You know, luckily with this fish, I was able to put a pretty debilitating shot in it, you know, mid-body, just above the lateral line. As you can see, that kind of really puts a good hurting on the fish, and you can pull it up out of the way and dispatch it and go about your business. You know, a lot of guys, they like to go for, you know, a tail shot because they say, oh, you know, there's way more ligaments and connective tissue in the tail, and you can, you know, pretty much get it. Once you get your shaft, you know, stuck in that part of the fish, it's not going to rip off. But for me, you know, I'm always trying to put a nice, you know, ethical and humane shot on these fish. You know, it wouldn't be a very good thing for anything to suffer, you know, while it's being harvested. So what I'm going to do here is bleed the fish out with my knife. I always make my cut right here on the gill plates. That really ensures quality meat, you know, from the fish. When you bleed the lactic acid out of it and the blood as well, you get a way higher quality, you know, level of meat, and everybody really tends to enjoy the fish a lot more when it's not all bloody and messy and looking like a murder scene on your plate. So, I mean, bleeding the fish is really important. As you can see, these ones are coming in to check out my flashers and me as well. I love it when they come head in on like this. Can get a good shot on them like that. That's another one right through the collars and coming out the gill plates. So this fish is literally going to bleed out on its first run. You know, and I can't emphasize on that enough. You know, shot placement's really crucial when you're out blue water diving or any situation in spearfishing. You know, you always want to put either a good debilitating shot on it or a good holding shot, so you don't end up losing the fish, because that's the name of the game, is getting fish. You're not going out there to, you know, look at stuff. You're going out there to harvest and provide for the people that depend on you. So here we are pulling this guy up. At this particular spot, you know, there's generally quite a few sharks, so I'm really kind of anticipating, you know, these sharks showing up at some point. So, you know, I'm trying to make these fights and runs really short on these fish because I am by myself and I am using a breakaway. I'm able to just put the brakes on it, pull it up real fast, dispatch it, put it on the float, and keep making my way towards my point of exit. Just pulling this fish up out of the zone just to get it out of that water column where the sharks might be cruising. They pick up a lot of movement with their receptors on the front part of their face, and you know, a fish struggling like this, bleeding and you know, basically dying in the water, There's our friend right there. You can see him in the corner. He's coming in, checking us out. So now that I'm aware of the situation, I really need to be conscious of where I'm putting my shots on these fish. These sharks are active and they are starting to, get a bit more curious as to what's going on. So with this fish, I'm gonna try my best to put a good debilitating holding shot on it. Seems like it's pretty close here, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the shot. I noticed the spear did not pass through, but what I'm doing here is I've got my hand on my tag line and I'm making sure that that fish is gonna run a certain way. Like, I don't want it to run through my flasher rig there and tangle all up on itself, because then I'll have a mess that I gotta deal with. And when you're dealing with a mess, you kind of have your attention set on that, untangling lines, versus looking out for sharks that could be coming in, to try and tax your float or eat your fish off of your shaft. So, all this stuff is really important to consider, especially if you're gonna take the risk and go dive by yourself. As I said before, spearfishing is a very hazardous activity, especially if you're not conscious of, what's going on within the realm that you have placed yourself in. So it's always key to be up and aware of your situation that you put yourself into. As you can see here, that shark is getting very close to my Onos, so I'm putting the brakes on it, really trying to get it away from that shark and trying my best to pose as a threat to these sharks. If I've found if you kind of aggress towards the sharks, they'll kind of look at you and, give you your space, because they'll feel that energy from you. And, I've been diving for a real long time, and these are just things that I've noticed over the years. And, I try to learn something new every time I go diving to keep getting better at this very awesome hobby that I thoroughly enjoy doing in my spare time. So, just bringing the fish up at this point, you can see all the beautiful colors that it has on it, and you really get an appreciation for your prey that you've put a lot of time into to figure out where it's gonna be, and hoping that you're gonna actually cross paths with these awesome creatures, because not only are they a really awesome fish to pursue and harvest, they're very, very amazing table fare. Like, the sashimi's awesome. We've got another way to prepare them out here in the island. It's called poke. I'm sure everybody's very familiar with that, especially everybody here in the islands. But hopefully a lot more people can check out this footage and pick up a bit of knowledge from it and appreciate it for what it is. So this is the final Ono here, I believe, because I can see that the rig is now going away from me because I didn't put a very debilitating shot on this fish. If I recall correctly, it was a little bit low and still in the vital area, but when you hit them low like this, you got a chance of ripping them off because there isn't a lot of solid meat there for the spear to hold on to. In particular here, I'm using a breakaway setup with a slip tip, and it's my preferred setup here for blue water. There's a lot of current, a lot of waves that can be out. You gotta be mindful of the conditions and the mannerisms of fish. As you can see here, that Ono made a whole 180-degree turn and is swimming away from that shark. So what I'm trying to do here is place myself between that shark and the Ono that I'm pulling in, just to display a little bit more dominance toward these sharks, letting them know if they want to come and get it, they're going to have to work a bit for it. And I mean, it's just is what it is. You go out there to get some good food for, your good friends and obviously your family and stuff. And, it's a pretty special thing that we're able to do out here. And it's something you don't want to take for granted at all. It's something you need to respect, and it's something that's really, just an awesome thing that you can go and do. You know, any human is capable of doing these things. You just have to put the time in and learn the techniques, figure out the tricks, and play that safe game. Because if you don't, you can really get yourself into trouble, and that's how bad things can happen. So as you can see, there's about 4 sharks down there getting real excited, smelling what's on my float and taking a good look at this one. This particular Ono, as you can see, ripped a little bit on the runs that it made. But with that slip tip, it toggled on the other side of the body, so you don't really get a big nasty gouge in the fish. That too, and you know, if you're getting it towards the belly, you know, that's a part you can eat as well, but it's not really that sought after depending on the household. But main thing, you know, you bleed your fish, you take care of your catch, and people will notice what you're doing. You know, obviously you want to go out there with good intentions and good vibrations, obviously, but you know, you do good things and good things will happen. You know, lucky for me today, you know, I was diving by myself, but you know, being aware of the situation that you've put yourself into is key. You know, when you're doing anything hazardous, you want to be very, very conscious of your situational awareness, because, you know, that could be pretty much the very end of it. So here's the last little bit of it, just a little panning shot of the 5 that I was lucky enough to harvest on this dive. You can see my tubbies are still floating there, so that's another important piece of equipment, especially if you're shore diving. You don't want to bust your feet all up. So mahalo. Thank you guys for checking out the video, and hope you enjoyed it. Aloha.